Hello and welcome back to part 2 of my actually useful tier list series. What are we looking at today? How much poise is granted to unique weapon skills. Take a quick glance at this list. Like the previous one, we've got super armor listed at the very top, but this time at the bottom we have a special tier that I'll discuss in further detail once I get to it. Let's stop wasting time. In Super Armor tier, we have Blade of Death, Blade of Gold, Thundercloud Form, Bloodblade Dance, Oath of Vengeance, Magma Guillotine, Goldbreaker, both versions of Erdtree Slam, Wolf's Assault, Frenzy Flame Thrust, and Angel's Wings. Not really all that much to talk about here. You'll notice that a lot of these skills have one thing in common. A good portion of them are acrobatic maneuvers that put your character into the air. It's kinda crazy to think that a dagger has super armor, but I suppose it's fair considering the startup speed of the skill. If you're tired of being poise broken due to your fashion of choice having low poise, use one of these skills. You cannot be poise broken. In this tier, we have Destined Death, Clawflick, Wave of Destruction, Starcaller's Cry, Storm Kick, and Sorcery of the Crozier. For reference, 500 poise is enough to poise through a two-handed jumping heavy from all colossal weapons. It might come as a surprise that you can get this much poise from a skill that comes from a hammer, but most people forget that you can put Stamp Upward Cut on all hammers, and even flails. I was personally surprised by how much poise is granted to Storm Kick. I thought for sure that the Balance team would drop the ball on this one. However, to my astonishment, they gave the slow, telegraphed, over-the-top cinematic offensive skill ample poise to not be shot out of the sky with a kukri. Thank God.
Tarnished, thy poise befits an entirely separate tier.
Regal Roar grants a whopping 400 poise. Another highly telegraphed, whiff-punishable on reaction skill that can be countered by jumping. You won't get much out of the attack itself, but those heavy attacks will sure keep your opponents guessing if you use them correctly. Those will grant you a total of allowing you to trade with that pesky colossal sword crouch poke we all know and love. One of these is, without a doubt, not like the other. Regal Beast Claw gets a hefty 350 poise when used. It shares its animation with Prayerful Strike, and grants the exact same amount of poise. Although the attack properties are vastly different, it seems as though the poise and hyper armor properties are copy-pasted. Great Serpent Hunt should have super armor for the entire duration of the move, and I will die on this hill. Alabaster Lord's Pull, Ancient Lightning Spear, Bear Witness, Onyx Lord's Repulsion, Ordovis Vortex, and Siluria's Woe? Siluria's Woe will all bestow the user 300 poise when hyper armor is active. All of these make sense except Bolt of Grandsax. I was under the impression that projectile attacks with the highest velocity in the game were less likely to have enough poise to hyper armor through a Colossal Sword R2. It appears I was incorrect. Establish Order will grant you 200 poise initially. The follow-up attack, however, will only grant level 3 hyper armor. Shriek of Milos, just the Shriek, will grant 200 poise when used. The heavy attacks that are granted during your buff will grant 300 poise when used. When it rain, it sure do Thunderstorm and Zamora Ice Storm both grant 150 poise. Relatively fast startup for these extremely threatening AoE skills. Waterfowl Dance grants a total of 120 poise when used. It may not be all that much, but at least it isn't nothing.
I command thee.
Taker's Flames, Surge of Faith, Bloodhound's Finesse, Ghost Flame Ignition, Great Ocular Bubble, Bubble Shower, Spinning Wheel, Aokade's Dancing Blade, Cursed Blood Slice, the Queen's Black Flame, Blood Boon Ritual, and Wave of Gold will all grant your character level 3 hyper armor. Again, this is the same amount of poise you get during the fully charged heavy attack of whatever weapon you're using. It's best to equip as much poise-granting armor as you can when using these unique skills in order to minimize poise breaks. Now for the fun tier. Remember when I said Aokade's Dancing Blade uses level 3 hyper armor? Well, the same goes for the Regalia of Aokade version. As stated before, this is the same amount of poise you get when you fully charge a heavy attack with the weapon you're using. So, what happens when we use a weapon with no hyper armor at all? Well, depending on how much true poise you have, you can get an increase in poise or a decrease in poise. Here I have the Bullgoat set equipped, giving me 100 poise. When I use Aokade's Dancing Blade, my poise is decreased. Now, when I use the same skill, butt-ass naked, I get an increase of 30 poise. The higher our poise gets from armor, the less poise increase we get. These returns diminish until we are left with negative values, which decreases the total poise we have during active hyper armor frames. At 60 poise, our poise neither increases or decreases. The same occurrences are present when using Mists of Slumber. Now at this point, you might be asking, what about the unblockable blade from the Coded Sword? It uses the same animation. Well, after testing, it doesn't affect your poise in any way. And that's all I've got for this video. Hope you'll tune in next time when I cover the same topic, but for casting instead of weapon skills. Anyways, thanks for watching.